शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः, भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः, स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः, स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः, स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः, स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Let's chant the seventh mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. Nantah pragyam na bahish pragyam no bhayatah pragyam na pragyanaganam na pragyam na pragyam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam अव्यपदेश्यम एकात्म प्रत्ययसारम प्रपंच उपशमम शांतम शिवम अद्वैतम चतुर्थम मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः। So as we saw, this is a mantra that really describes you. It's your real biography, not the one that you and I can write about ourselves based on whatever our experiences are and what our history is and our capabilities. That's how we would describe our own self in a biography. And yes, that's not wrong. It's not as though we are lying. It's just that it is not complete. It is just on the surface. It's as though a wave of the ocean is asked by some other wave, can you please describe yourself? So it goes on to prove, to enunciate, I think I was born on such and such time, and here's what I'm going through, here's my shape, here's my competition, here are my problems, here's what I'm worried, I'm going to disappear pretty soon. So I don't know how long I'm going to live. And even while I'm living, I'm not completely happy. Those are the kind of things that a biography of a wave will say. And so if there is a kind of a guru wave that understands the bigger picture, it will say, is that it? Are you done? Yeah, I think so. I may have left a few things here and there, but yeah, that's pretty much substantially who I am. What do you think? He says, no, that's not a complete picture at all. You are, in fact, an infinite deep ocean. An infinite deep ocean? How did you get that? That's not my description. I'm just a wave. I know. Okay. I know you're just a wave, but you are only describing yourself at a very surfacey level. There's something much more important for you. And you are, in fact, the whole thing. It is a very accurate statement because everything in the ocean is really the whole thing. None of it is isolated. So this is not an exaggeration or a poetic statement that each wave is in fact the whole ocean. There's only one ocean in that example. And really everything that has a form in it is just an isolated form, but the substance, the longevity, the amritatvam is all the same. So really, we should see this. I would say that a good thing for you to do is to learn this mantra by heart as your biography. As your biography, and one that you should investigate. We haven't even done that yet. These are just words. So, this is what is called Purushartha. Purushanam arthyate iti Purushartha. What do we really want is called Purushartha. What is the essence of what we want in our life? This is called Purushartha. And the Purushartha cannot be actualized until we see Shabdartha. This is a very interesting thing. There is a basic difference between the karma portion of the Vedas and the jnana portion of the Vedas. What Swami Akhandananda pointed out in something that I was reading. He said the karma portion of the Vedas the Shabda Artha is secondary. The Shabda Ucharanam means pronunciation, the accuracy, speaking about it is the most important thing. This is why our Veda Pathshalas, we practice chanting very accurately for a long time. I think I was telling you, what a surprise it was. This is a couple of years ago when I was in India visiting Mandukya, Swamiji's birthplace, where Srila Balaji had invited me, and I spent a week there. And we also visited some Veda Pathshalas. So in one of the Veda Pathshalas, all the children were chanting the Veda mantras very beautifully, such accurately, without looking at the book, by, just memorizing it. And I spoke for about 15-20 minutes, half hour, I remember. I was very impressed, really, just so wonderful. So I talked to the teacher, the instructor. So I said, tell me, how many mantras are you aspiring these youngsters? It may not be at all ages because they were all from 6 to 20, 22, all ages. But what is your goal in terms of chanting these Veda mantras? How long can they do it without looking at the book? I just posed that question. I don't know what came over me. Because, I also, for a while, I was also doing a lot of ucharanam and memorization also. I know now I'm almost rusty at the Rudram, uh, but Purusha Sukta, Rudram, all of these, Gita, was, now I'm getting old, I can't remember it all, but it was a pleasure to do all of that. Anyway, I asked them, how many, how many, how, how much can they remember? You know what his answer was? He said, approximately 36 hours. I almost fell off of my chair. He says, how is that possible? Can you imagine accurately with swaras chanting for a day and a half? As far as I can remember, I hope I'm not exaggerating. I think that's the memory that I have. Anyway, the Vedas, the Karmakanda portion of the Vedas is to be spoken. That's why chanting is very important. The Jnana portion of the Vedas is completely different. Then what is the Jnana portion, Jnana Kanda of the Vedas? Yes, if you do cite some Upanishads, Upanishadic mantras like we are doing here, it should be accurately chanted. Doesn't mean that it's just, I tell you, when I hear Gayatri mantras being chanted absolutely wrongly, I just cringe about it. So all mantras have to be chanted. But chanting of the mantras really doesn't deliver, is not the Purushartha. It is the meaning of them that is the Purushartha. This is different from Karmakanda to Jnanakanda. So chanting a mantra, antaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, etc. is okay. But your Purushartha means what do you really want? And we're going to talk a little bit more about this. What you want is what is called akhanda akara vritti. A vritti, a thought will say, my God, I am the whole ocean, not just the wave. And that understanding has to come from a complete description. So similarly here, this is your true, complete biography. There are other biographies, but this is good enough. It's pretty good. It's others also say pretty much the same with different words, but this is a very complete, considered to be a complete, accurate, and complete biography. This is the meaning of the seventh. So I would say that we'll spend some time on it, as much as we can understand, we'll do it. But your goal should be to really get into it so that every word, every concept, every definition leaves an understanding in you. Say, my goodness. So this is the seventh mantra. So that's what it says. Chaturtham manyante saha atma means that's how you are. Saha vigyeya. But amazingly enough, you would think that I should know everything about myself. But I don't. This is a very, very amazing thing, really. How can I not know everything about myself? How is it that I am confused about myself, or that I have an incomplete appreciation about myself? This is what happens. This is true. That doubt is also there. How can that happen? But the answer to that doubt is also true, which we will see. We'll see the beginning of that today also. But at least technically you should see that it is possible that I may have a wrong opinion about myself. And if you have a wrong opinion about yourself, which we all do, sometimes we think too highly about ourselves. I remember this, I remember this conversation that I had with my elder sister. My elder sister was about 2.5 years older than me. And she was, of course, she was a woman, and women mature more quickly than men do. And so I used to look upon her as a very, wise person. And I was growing up. So I remember this conversation that I had with my sister, Lata. I used to call her Didi. I said, Didi, tell me, which is better? Superiority complex or inferiority complex? Somehow I had heard of all these terms, and somebody must have explained to me, what does that mean? Complex meaning you have a kind of a wrong idea about yourself. It's not, this is what is called pratiti. So we are going to use that word pratiti also. So the pratiti means just some thoughts. So I used to say, which one is better? And her answer was not very satisfying to me, which was true. And I remember her saying, none of them are good. Very wise answer. This is what is called dvandva. So dvandva means the two extremes. Inferiority complex and superiority complex. Not very helpful in life, because if you go around, this is what is mean, amanitvam adambhitvam. So amanitvam means, if you're a mani, I'm doing so well, everything is going well, I don't need anything else. I'm okay. I'm a real person. It's called manitva. All that happens is that you stumble and you break your leg and you really cry out for help. There's no doctors around and there's huge issues. I don't know why I'm saying this. I have one of my very good friends. Just talked to him 2 days ago. We were at a social get-together. He went to, so we were asking him, I said, how's life? Where have you been? He said, my wife and I and our daughter, who's recently got married, but her husband could not come. So the three of us had 2 weeks and we went to Paris and some European cities. And it was so much fun. And so we were talking about it. Really, where did you go? And then talk comes to vegetarian food. Where did you eat? He's a vegetarian. Like that and so on. And then towards the end of that, I don't know what came over me. He says, I'll tell you what happened to me while I was in Paris. I says, what? He says, we were just enjoying ourselves, going around and so on. And suddenly I felt very weak and kind of fell to the ground. And so my wife and daughter, they were all saying, what's happening? So I said, no, I just had some, some vertigo or something like that. I'll be okay. So he got up and he walked around, and then he had already hardly gone 100 steps or so. This time he really fainted. And luckily he didn't hit his head on the ground, but he fainted, collapsed. So they didn't know what to do, and finally he regained his so-called consciousness. Conscious, you never lose consciousness. That is you yourself. But the visibility of the consciousness in controlling the body, he lost. Anyway, somehow or the other they went to a hospital because everybody said this is not right. So he was admitted into the hospital. He stayed there for like 2-3 days. His vacation was ruined. So our feeling that I'm okay and I'm doing this, he says, I felt so helpless. Just helpless like this. So anyway, going back to the starting the meaning of this verse now, let's go back to it. That, as you know, what we said was the Bhava Sagar means Sagara. I'm speaking in Sanskrit, not in Hindi. Bhava Sagara means that I'm in an ocean of trying to change. And it doesn't work, as we have gone through this in some detail. And it doesn't work, and I don't know what else to do. But I need to resort to it. I can't give up trying. Because people will say, well, just give up then. Just accept who you are. Nobody wants to do that. You all have some faint hope that I think I can be better. So you keep trying different things. You want to be different. This is all based on karma. So this is what is called sadhana sadhya. That you need some things to improve, you need some instruments to improve, and you go to some place and you then evaluate yourself, and he said, yeah, I'm a little bit better, but not quite where I want to be. Let's do something else. You keep doing that. By that time, the life is over. Everyone. You interview people, they'll all say the same thing. Nobody will say, except for very, very few Mahatmas. Very few. Probably you can number, I don't know. I used to think it was a very small number, but I don't. After reading Swami Akhandananda's biography, I found out there are more than I thought. There are literally thousands of Mahatmas in India. And they are not big teachers and students or anything, just sit there, they're just satisfied with themselves. So there are a few. 1,000 people out of 7 billion people. Everybody else is just trying to be different. And it's interesting, it's not just this life. This is an infinite life. We've had so many lives where we've been trying to be different. Then we finally collapse. Then we take a birth and we start all over again. Trying to be different. Learning things. Growing up. This is what happens. So the question is, why is that happening? What's wrong with this picture? So here Swami Akhandananda says that, listen, it is because you are mixing up two things because of which you are confused. You're mixing up two things. So one is called pratiti. Pratiti means a thought, some expression. And the other one is the object of the pratiti. Okay, so example given is, so supposing you were dreaming and you saw an elephant in the dream. Let's take that example. Okay? So when you see an elephant in the dream, there are two things that are coming together. One is the pratiti. Pratiti means also your jnanam, your consciousness, if you want to call it. And the other one is the object with which your consciousness mixes up, gets united with. It's very much like, for example, if I were to tell you, what is this? It's very natural that you will answer, it's a book. It happens to be the book on Agama Prakaranam, very well done by Swami Paramarthananda and his students, where they have translated each word is what that book is. So you'll say it's a book. Okay? I'll say, are you sure? You'll say, yeah, of course. What do you mean? What else can it be? Have you described it fully? Yeah, I think I've have you considered all the factors? Stop bugging me. Okay? I said it's a book, it's a book. What do you think it is? The answer is, it is light following on the book that takes, the light takes the shape of the form of the book. It is the light plus the object together is really what you're seeing. Because if the light was not there, you couldn't ascertain what it is. So there are two things involved. One is the light and the other is the object in the light. The object embraces the light, reflects it back, and there are some letters written there, and the letters are in dark color, and the dark color does not reflect light as well, so it looks dark. The light colored paper reflects it better, so it has a yellow. All those kinds of things are happening, right? Now if I remove the book and I show you my notes, what has happened? Well, the light remains the same, but the object changes. And so now the book has been replaced by some notes. So here is our issue. This is what we get mixed up on. The elephant in the dream is a replaceable incidental object that colored your pratiti. And if you were to wake up from the dream, the elephant has gone, but the pratiti is still there. You don't lose your consciousness. Actually, you never ever lose your consciousness. Even like this, my friend who fell down on the ground, he never lost his consciousness. You cannot lose your swarupa. And that swarupa is I am, I know, and anantam. That is not something which is You cannot lose it. You can only lose something that is attached to it. But you cannot lose your own, because that is who you are. So to say that I didn't lose consciousness is just the way we talk. You cannot lose the consciousness. The only thing that we can do is to say, I lost consciousness because, and this is what happens when you get anesthesia. When you get anesthesia, you apparently lose consciousness. No, you don't. What you lose is your ability to your mind to function. That's all. When you are in deep sleep, the mind also disappears. There is no thought, no object, no nothing, no elephant, no dream, nothing. Consciousness remains. What if when you die, nothing happens? We have talked about this. That really the only, if you want to experience, supposing you're saying, I'm afraid of dying. What if I die? I think I was telling you this happened to me, and I don't remember the exact time when I was there. I guess I was about 9 years old approximately. This was in New Delhi. And I had a cousin a couple of years older than me, who he and I were just horse playing, and our parents had gone someplace. And I even remember the scene in the house and so on. So I still remember in one of the rooms we were visiting. This was our uncle's house, my father's older brother. And in one of the rooms, all the quilts used for making beds, because it was kind of like not winter but was cool, so everybody would have a quilt on them. But in the daytime, the domestic help would all take away the quilts and stack them in a corner. And the stacking was pretty high, not easy to get to it. So my cousin Ajay and I, we both said, wouldn't it be nice to just go on the top of it? So we somehow the other climbed on it. So I don't know, we made some steps out of it. And we were about this high, and we were just both sitting there. And for some reason, he had to go someplace. So I was there alone. I still remember, I don't know how it happened. There must have been some talk of death or something. But I said, oh my God, I think I might die. I don't want to die. And an amazing fear came over me. Honestly, I still remember that so well. And later on, we were discussing it with parents and so on and so forth, and somehow but the fear never left me for quite a while. I still wonder, this is a very interesting thing. And I'd had a discussion with Swami Dayananji on this. And I said, Swamiji, I am really surprised that more people are not walking around with the fear of death. We don't talk about dying when we're just, when something happens, some accident happens, says, oh my gosh, I'm happy that I'm not. We are very casual about it. Why? This is very interesting. And he was telling me this, I remember this. He said, you are right. He says, I also used to wonder about that. And I think it is because deep down below, none of us really believe that we are subject to death. Even though the evidence is very plain that everybody has to die and so on and so forth, but everyone, and it's not anybody is taught this, but deep in our own recesses of ourself, our deep portions of our mind, I'm talking about everybody. Nobody thinks that I'm really going to die. I think that's the reason why nobody seems to be beset by the fear of death. Except that happened to me for a short time, might happen to the others. The fact of the matter is, it is not possible to die. Even if you want to die, so when you commit suicide, you don't die, you decommission your body-mind. That's all. Body. That's it. So supposing you were to call Ishvara and say, Ishvara, hey sir, I've been praying for you for a long time and I have a request. Ishvara says, what is it? Can I die? So Ishvara says, no, I can't give you that boon. But we are supposed to be all powerful. You can do anything, didn't you say? He says, yeah, I know, but this is a very important thing, by the way. This is a very, very important thing, and I have talked about it, and I will continue to look at it. There is only one thing that cannot die, which is the Atma, which is Sat Swarupa. Everything else is subject to death, except you. My challenge is, how do I convince you? You might be sitting there saying, what? What is he talking about? I'm talking about your biography, you. This is a very serious subject, a very important subject, very pleasant subject. It's a very, very important thing. And really my life changed when I understood this. That I am Sat Swarupa. When I understood this, I'd been hearing about it for a long time. So as I said, that really there is not Purushartha. Only when the Shabdartha takes place, the whole view changed for me. My goodness. And even if there are things that are not going well, all I have to do is to close my eyes and say, I am Sat Swarupa. I'll mention something very interesting to you. You know, I've been a sports person all my life. I used to be fairly good at things, sports. My favorite was table tennis, ping pong, and even to this day, my two grown-up sons could never defeat me. This was a great frustration for them. Both Sanjay and Manoj, they all said, and Manoj, the younger one, he said, Dad, we're going to have serious matches. And so when we moved into this home, how old was he? guess he was about 9 or so. And we had a pretty big 3-car garage at that time in this house. We still have it. We moved in from a smaller house to this house. And so I bought a ping pong table, and we had lights, and we took out all the cars and so on. And we said, okay. And he was, well, he was young at that time, and he couldn't really quite beat me. But then he went to college. And when he came back from college, 1920, he said, Dad, I think I've been practicing table tennis and let's play. Couldn't beat. I was that good. And I was sports in all cricket. I was the captain of my cricket team. All kinds of things were happening. Tennis, this, that, or the other. And then after I left things playing, I'm very happy, by the way, that I did not take up golf. There's some things you do that if you don't do them, you are very wise. And even though my tendency was, because both the kids are pretty good golfers, my wife used to say, why don't you play golf with your kid? Aren't you interested in just spending quality time with your sons? I said, I do, but I think it's going to take too much of my time. But she was very disappointed. She said, you have already studied Vedanta for a long time, just spend some time playing golf. And I said, no, this is going to, because to play golf, you have to play regularly. You can't just, you have to play at least once or twice a week. How long it took? Anyway, I don't want to go through all that. Anyway, here's what I'm telling you. This is something really funny. It all goes back to understanding Aham Sat Swarupa. So I'll come back to it. This is an interesting, funny story. So after I quit playing sports, I stayed as a sports fan, very much interested in the San Francisco Giants, 49ers, and then now the basketball team. And I have spent so much time following them. And the thing is, I don't really go to a lot of games, but I really enjoy the analysis of who's doing good and who's doing not good. That I really do. I spend some time in the morning just reviewing that. It's dropping off, but I still do. Now, the only sport that I watch on television is NFL football for the 49ers. I'm a 49ers fan. Okay? So here's the story. I don't have as much time in watching football that I did before. I cannot spend 3 hours, 4 hours, or so on. So I've been recording it and going through that very quickly. But that's not the story. The story is this. I watched NFL football, which, by the way, I must say, I enjoy the technical play very much. I know who is a good linebacker, who is cornerback, what is a defense, what is the quarterback's role, what are the receivers. I know that very well. I really enjoy that. And I understand which one is good, which is not good, which people in my own team are doing better than others, which are not. All of that I understand. But I only watch the game if they have won the game. So my sons, they are They just are very, they don't understand this. You're not a true sports fan. Why are you, why don't you just go with the wins and losses and suffer with them and enjoy it? What is this thing about winning that you have? And I tell my kids, you don't understand. I have an insight into this. I enjoy the technicalities of the game if I know the final answer. And sometimes I even do that when they lose also. I shouldn't say that I don't. But here's the point. I know the answer even though I'm watching the replay of the game. And I enjoy the technicality of the replay. So you're probably asking, so what are you saying? What is your point? You know, once I found out what my real nature was, I really understood it. Not a question of, I think this is what these books are saying. No. It's what I call aparoksha jnana. But I'm still involved with vyavahara. I'm still involved with problems, health problems, issues with kids, grandkids, money, house, deteriorating, getting older, all those kind of things are still there. But any time I have any kind of I don't have any major troubles, but if I have some minor troubles, which happen, all I have to do is to close my eyes. I don't even have to close my eyes. That's a figure of speech. This is, oh my God, I am the Sat Swarupa. It's like I have already won the game. I know what the result is. And so somebody can say, well, if you know you are Sat Swarupa, then what is the purpose of living? Then you just give up and just go somewhere. No. That is silly. Why don't I just enjoy it? And if there are some problems, just go through with the problems. But the sting of those things are gone. It's a beautiful feeling. So, going back to the introduction by Swami Akhandananda, he says that if you can separate the pratiti from the pratiti vishaya, object, you can see that those two are different. The light falling on the book does not change, but the book can be replaced by the notes. Those can change. It's not that difficult. You're done. So this is where, a lot of this teaching is based on how you teach. What do you emphasize on? This is what I really admire about Swami Akhandananda ji. is that in reading his books and so on, there is a very clear emphasis on some points. And that's what really motivated me to do this 2 days retreat. Because I'm not taking any particular text, but I am preparing notes. I'm very busy doing that actually in the next few days, where I want to emphasize the important things that we must think about. And one of them, for example, that really made a difference for me, it's not as though that I was not doing it before, but it is the emphasis. This is what the beauty of teaching is by these Mahatmas. They'll say this is what you should focus on. You are doing a number of things, and good, that is what Shravanam is. But you should pick and choose the areas which really affect you, which give you a wisdom, a vision of what it is. One of them was a very simple thing. It's not as though Swami Dayananji and Swami Chinmanand isn't. They all said the same thing, but the way he said it really made an impression on me. He said, and I've already talked about this, your transformation will come about when you stop fussing about the Vishaya of the Pratiti and develop an appreciation for the Pratiti. Not the Drishya, but the Drik. And so what happens is in our life that we throw the Drik under the bus. What is there to talk about the Drik, the Sakshi? Well, I don't understand. The real challenge is to lead a life, to be engaged and to do things and to figure things out and to be successful. All those kinds are really what matters. That is the challenge of life. But the seer, it's just there. I don't understand. Why is that? So what do you want me to do? This is the problem. We are over appreciative about the Drishya and totally not appreciative about the Drik. Because we don't understand. It is so much taken for granted that I refuse to explore the enormity of the Drik. It just escapes. I'm incapable of doing that. That's the issue. It's not as though I don't want to, but I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? So this is what the seventh mantra will say. Once you discover what is called the Mahima, the power and the beauty and the amazing capability of the Drik. Okay, give me one example. See, this is the thing. The capability of and the Mahima is so enormous that we cannot grasp it. Like if you say, okay, give me one example of the Mahima of the Drik. You ready? Listening to me? Say, yeah, yeah, just tell me. The twig cannot die. It is deathless. What happens? You know what happens generally when we say that? Oh, really? Interesting. We trivialize it. You know why? Because we don't really believe it. We don't understand it. What is deathlessness? I think I was going through this example. You remember this woman that had lost her earring, and so there were two problems with the search. One problem is that, except for herself and perhaps her spouse, no one really knew what it looked like. So they don't even know what we are searching. There's something is lost. What happened, lady? She says, I lost earring. By that time, she had already taken off the other one from the other ear and put it in the pocket in case that also doesn't lose. So she has nothing to show to people. So they said, "Oh, you lost an earring." They don't know whether it is just a gold earring. Is it diamond? Is it a long one? Is it a short one? They have no idea. Something is lost. So they're all searching. And where are they searching? Where the earring is not fallen. It is in the bus. So that's the two problems. You don't know what you're searching for, and the place that you're searching is the wrong one. Only two problems. Other than that, you are doing very well. You're putting the effort in. You're sincere. All of that is there. But there's these couple of small issues. You don't know what is it that you're searching for, and you don't understand where it is. So when we say that the Sakshi is deathless, you have no idea what deathless means. Because immediately you start thinking about a person who lives forever. You remember, I don't know if I discussed this with you. I think we were doing some messaging in the not the teaching WhatsApp, but the satsang WhatsApp. And there was somebody who said, I think Chandra had started this, that we saw the autobiography of a yogi. What an important book it was. And I also chimed in and said, that influenced me a lot. But then, very luckily, just at that time, I met Swami Chinmayananji, and I could understand that living by Sri Yukteswar for 1,000 years doesn't mean anything. It could be 1,000 years. Why is it important to be living for 1,000 years? What does that do? Because, he's a yogi and he can just tell everybody, you guys only live for 70 years, 80 years. I can live for 1,000 years. Is that what it does? And is that 1,000 how quickly, time flies when you're having fun. So after 1,000 years, you're gone. So we had all this discussion. I remember even before I met Swami Dayanandji, with Swami Chinmayanand. And he says, no, that's not what you want. You want complete deathlessness. That's you. That appealed to me. And do you know I've never read that book again? Never. It's still there in my library. I think I mentioned that in the satsang. How it was interesting. I went to the library and it was full of dust. I had to do like this. Never even opened it. Very happy. Since 1973, 74. So the point is, we don't know what deathlessness is. We think it is like being a yogi that can live for 1,000 years. So don't say that, what is so big about the Sakshi. The life is the important one. Is it the problem? We don't investigate. So we'll talk a lot about that. What the capability of the Drik is. And it's not just. So this is also a very important thing. It just occurred to me because of the news that I heard this morning. Fascinating news. I'll tell you about that in a minute. That it is not about giving up the drishya. Somehow the feeling is that if I just give up all my thoughts and so on, I will reach moksha. Is what I want to do. It's totally wrong. Because it is to see that the drishya is bothering me for no reason. It cannot. I have already won. It's like seeing the game being played when people are getting upset, the referees and so on and so forth. I enjoy it because I know I've won. The game is won already. I am the very Sat. I'll tell you about the interesting news that I read this morning. You may have seen this. In the morning when I get up, if I'm having a cup of coffee before I start studying, so I look at the Google News from India, Google News from the US, and a little bit about the business news to see. But by that time, the stock market hasn't opened, so I don't really look at that very much. So I look about the news about India. So what caught my attention was, you must have heard that this morning, I think, that 150 police officers raided Satguru's Isha, is it called? Isha Ashram or something like that. Isha is the only word that I know. Isha Ashram or something like that. 150 people. This is a fascinating news. So I read a little bit more about that. And there is a newspaper called Indian Express that you know that had a fairly complete article about that, what happened and so on and so forth. Very nicely written article, very fair. So the story is that in this ashram, for Satguru's ashram, there's a number of sannyasis and sannyasins living there. Two of them are sisters who were really quite doing well in the life. They had good jobs and they had really studied a lot. They were scholars and so on. But they were so taken in by the vision of Sadguru that decided to just join this community, and they lived there. Not only that, they have now cut off from their own families. And this is where all the accusations are, that people say, no, they are doing it on their own. And the parents say that anytime we try to reach them, they say, no, we are not allowed to talk to you. These two women have shaved off their head completely, and they are just living there as sannyasins, studying, and I don't know what they do in there. So the parents went to the police and they said, there's we have heard of a number of other stories where these, like our daughters also, other people have lost contact with the outside world, and Sadhguru encourages that you just be isolated and study, and you don't have to really do this, and so on and so forth. So they made a petition, and the High Court said, okay, we'll investigate it. And they've spent a lot of people, police people, that are supposed to go and check with all of the inmates of this ashram, if I can call them inmates, and interview them and say, what do you think? Are you doing it on your own? So on and so forth. This is the story. Okay, I don't know where it's going to go. But here's the situation. This is a very important thing. Can you imagine in Swamiji's Arshavidya Peetham people doing that? Can you even imagine that? Why not? Because the vision is totally different. What is the difference? The difference is that in this ashram that they were talking about, Sadhguru's ashram, you have to avoid normal contact with the outside world, as though that is a problem. You have to really stay within yourself, close your eyes, do whatever chanting, studying, I don't know what they do, meditation, etc. Just stay with it. Is this a vision? This is such a distorted vision. Is the objective of Vedanta to make you isolated from the world? Can you be isolated from the world? You still have hunger, you have thirst, your bodily functions are there, your relationships with the world, and those you are now cutting it off as though what are you going to reach? Some kind of a nirvana away from it? It's not going to happen. It has never happened. It will never happen because it is not the truth. Truth is that you are everything. You are the... So we will see more about this. There's a lot more to teach on this. But the objective is our Swaminis and Swamis. It's not as though they are not sannyasis. Sannyasis, to be a sannyasi is a very beautiful thing. But that doesn't mean that you... Swami Viditatmananda still has brothers and sisters and nephews and so on. He looks upon them differently than he did before. It's not just his family. You and I are also part of the same family. But that doesn't mean that he cuts them off. This is the Sampradaya. This is Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam. Shankaracharya never said you be isolated with the world. It's a wrong vision because it doesn't lead to anything. You just have to see that it is not that important as it was before, because I'm already done. So in my case also, just an example, it's not as though I don't want to enjoy the whole. Every morning I look at it. Just this morning, I don't know if you are followers of 49ers, but who got hurt? Who's likely to play? This guy, Jordan Mason, out of nowhere, has come to become a very reliable runner. I really enjoy that. He's a youngster, 22, and he was not selected by any, doesn't make much money, but he's doing very well. Joy, total joy. And whether the game was lost or not lost is not important to me. But if they have already won, I still enjoy problems that they're having, somebody doing well, not doing well. And so in my life also, if I find that there are some issues that are not doing according to the way I want, all I have to do is to remember who I am. I'm done. So this is the vision of the seventh mantra that we will explore further as we go. Anyway, for the last two classes, I haven't even started to unfold some of the words in the mantra, which we will do. And I hope you're not in a big rush. So we'll get to it pretty soon. So with that, let me close today's class. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Good. Happy that you could join, and I hope to see you next week. Hari Om.